right? What I'll do is I'll read the page. I'll read to page 15, and then tomorrow I'll finish off the remaining 5 pages of the prologue because the prologue is too boring. I'm excited to get into the chapters, chapter 1, because that's when you have dialogue and all that stuff. Whereas the prologue is very boring. Obviously, I don't know. I might just instead of me doing a series, I might just do the prologue and I'll end my Lord of the Rings series. I'll just make videos on my board and talk about other stuff because I don't know if I can do this for 2 months. I said in the beginning, we'll see. I might do a series. We'll see how it goes. Right. I'll read a good 4 more pages and I'll end the video. I have 37 minutes into my phone. I'll read a good 4 more pages and I'll end the video here. So this video will be a good hour and like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. It's not going to be a long video. How old Toby came by the plant is not recorded. For to his dying day we will not tell. He knew much about herbs, but he was no traveler, right? It is said that in his youth he went often to Bree, though he certainly never went further from the Shire than that. It is thus quite possible that he learned of his plant in Bree, where now at any rate it grows well on the south slopes of the hill. The Bree hobbits claim to have been the first actual smokers. So the hobbits of Bree are supposed to be the first smokers of the pipe. They claim, of course, to have done everything before the people of the Shire, whom they refer to as colonists. But in this case, their claim is, I think, likely to be true, and certainly it was from Bree that the art of smoking the genuine weed spread in the recent centuries among dwarves and such others. So the dwarves also smoke, right? And the rangers, for example, Aragorn has his pipe too. He smokes, obviously. The rangers, wizards, Gandalf smokes, right? Or wanderers. I still pass to and fro through that ancient world meeting. The home and center of the art is thus to be found in the Bree, the prancing pony. Again, the prancing pony. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. They pass through the prancing pony, and that's where they meet what? That's where they meet the manager and Aragorn and all of them, right? In like almost halfway through Fellowship of the Ring. That has been kept by the family of Butterbur from time beyond record. All the same observations I have made on my own, many journeys south have convinced me that the weed itself is not native to our parts of the world, but came northward from the lower Anduin. Anduin is a city in Middle Earth. I don't know. Whether it was, I suspect originally brought overseas by the men of Westerners. It grows unabundantly in Gondor. So apparently the weed grows in Gondor, right? And there's richer and larger than in the north, where it is ever found wild and flourishes only in warm sheltered places like Long Bottom, another land, which I don't know where that is. The men of Gondor called sweet Gelanas, and esteem it only for the fragrance of its flowers. From that land, it must have been carried up with the Greenway during the long centuries between the coming of the Elendil of our own days. But even the Dunedain of Gondor allow this credit. Again, the Dunedain is man blessed with long life. Hobbits first put it into pipes. Not even the wizards first thought of that before we did. Though one wizard I knew took up the art long ago and became as skillful in all other things that put up his mind, obviously. Right. So in a good 4 pages, I'll end this video here. This 20 pages is too long. So this video will be a good hour and like 15 minutes. So it's not the longest video. Obviously. Right. The Shire was divided into 4 quarters. The far things are already referred to the north, south, east, and west. The Shire is split into the north, the south, the east, and the west, obviously. Right. And these again each into member of folklands, which still bore the names of some of the old leading families, although by the time of this history these names were no longer found only in the proper folkland. Nearly all Tooks still lived in the Tookland, but that was not true of many other families, such as the Bagginses or the Boffins. Outside the Farthings were the East and West Marshes, the Buckland, and the West Marshes after the Shire. Right? The Shire at this time had hardly any government. Families for the most part managed their own affairs, growing food and eating it occupied most of their time. right? Others matters, like for example, Samwise Gamgee's a gardener, so the hobbits they plant their own food and that kind of stuff. Is occupied most of their time in other matters they were, as a rule, generous and not greedy, but content and moderate, so that estates, farms, and workshops and small trades tend to remain unchanged for generations. There remained, of course, the ancient tradition concerning the High King at Fornos, or Norbury as he called it, away north of the Shire. Again, he dumped me with more information about what lands. That's why it's hard to follow this book, man. It's fucking crazy, man. As they called it, away north of the Shire. But there had been no king for nearly about 1,000 years, and even the ruins of King Norbury were covered with grass. Yet the hobbits still said of wild folk and wicked things, such as trolls, that they had not heard of the king, but they attributed to the king of old all their essential laws. Right? That the hobbits still said of wild folk and wicked things, such as trolls, that they had not heard of the king, for they attributed to the king of old all their essential laws, and usually they kept the laws of free will because they were the rules, as they said, both ancient and just. So hobbits made up their own rules pretty much. It is true that the Took family had long been preeminent, for the office of Thane had passed to them from the old bucks some centuries before, and the chief Took had borne that title ever since. The Thane was the master of the Shire Moot and captain of the Shire Muster and the Hobbitarian armies, but as a muster and moot were only held in times of emergency, which no longer occurred. The Thaneship had ceased to be more than a nominal dignity. The Took family, how much stuff do we have here, was still indeed accorded a special respect, for it remained both numerous and exceedingly wealthy. So the Tooks were wealthy, obviously. The Took family of the Took Hobbit family were wealthy. Indeed, according to a special effect, for remained both numerous and exceedingly wealthy, and was liable to produce in every generation. Right? Among strong characters and peculiar habits, and even adventurous temperament. The latter qualities, however, were now rather tolerated in the rich than generally improved. The custom endured, nonetheless, of referring to the head of the family as a Took, of adding to his name, if required, a number such as Isengrim the second, for instance. The only real official in the Shire at this date was the mayor of Michael Delving of the Shire, who was elected every 7 years at the Free Fair on the White Downs of the Leith, that is the midsummer. As mayor, almost his only duty was to preside at banquets given on the Shire holidays, which occurred at frequent intervals, but the office of postmaster at first sheriff were attached to the mayoralty, whatever that means, so that he managed both the messenger service at the watch. Again, so much information, man. I have to take in, man. These were the only Shire services, and the messengers were the most numerous and much busier of the two. By no means all hobbits were lettered, but those who wrote constantly to their friends. So some of the hobbits were not able to write, obviously, right? Well, some of the hobbits of the races, whatever it is, were able to write. Some hobbits were able to write. Some hobbits were not able to write, obviously. So Bilbo was obviously one of the hobbits who was able to write, because he wrote his own book there and back again, right? By no means all were lettered, but those who were wrote constitute all their friends and section of their relations, who lived further off than Matthew's Walk. The sheriffs was the name that the hobbits gave to their police. The sheriffs, obviously. So Tolkien took the word sheriffs from sheriff, obviously. They're the police of the hobbits, obviously, or the nearest equipment that they possessed. They had, of course, no uniform, such things being quite unknown, only a feather in their caps, and they were in practice rather haywards than policemen, more concerned with the strains of beasts than the people. There were in all the Shire only 12 of them, 3 in each farthing for inside work, a rather larger body. A varying at need was employed to beat the bounds, and to see that outsiders of any kind, great or small, not make themselves a nuisance. At the time when this story begins, the bounders, as they were called, had been greatly increased. There were many reports of cases of strange persons and creatures prowling about the boards over them. The first sign that all was not quite as should be, and always had been, except 2 more pages, and I'm ending this video here. In tales and legends of long ago, few heeded the sign, and not even Bilbo yet had any notion of what it portended. 60 years had passed since he saw the marriage. Remember, I said, when Bilbo went on his journey and he found the ring, obviously that was 60 years before the events of Lord of the Rings. You have to keep that in mind, Right. So few heeded the sign, and not even Bilbo yet had any notion of what it pretended. 6 years had passed since he set out on his memorable journey, and he was old even for hobbits, who reached 100 as often as not. But much evidently still remained. So most hobbits made it to 100 years, but Bilbo was 111 years old when they celebrated his birthday in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings book because of the ring, obviously, the magic of the ring, obviously, who reached 100 as often as not, but much evidently still remained of the considerable wealth that he had brought back. So Bilbo, he got a lot of wealth. He brought a lot of wealth back from what? From his journey, obviously. How much or how little he revealed to no one, not even Frodo, his favorite nephew, and he still kept secret the thing that he had found. Almost done here. I'm ending this thing in like 5 minutes. Right, of the finding of the ring. As is told in The Hobbit, there came one day to Bilbo's door the great wizard Gandalf the Grey and 13 dwarves with him. Remember in the what? And this is where Peter Jackson got the idea of The Hobbit. You have the Hobbit books, obviously, but you also have information in the prologue. Remember in the beginning of Unspoiled Journey, you had Gandalf and you had those 13 dwarves. Well, that's where you get the idea of the Hobbit movies, obviously. As told in The Hobbit, there came one day to Bilbo's door the great wizard Gandalf the Grey. So you have three wizards. You have Gandalf. You have what's his name? Razagast, whatever his name is, the brown. Gandalf the Grey, and you have Saruman the white. Obviously, and Saruman is like the most wise of the three wizards, whatever it is, the most powerful of the three wizards. As told in The Hobbit, there came one day Bilbo's door the great wizard Gandalf the Grey and 13 dwarfs with him, none other indeed than Thorin Oakenshield, descendant of the kings. Remember Thorin in Thorin in what? In the Hobbit movies? Well, that's where they get the idea of Thorin, obviously, as well as the Hobbit books, obviously. With them, he set out to his own last exhaustion on a morning of April, it being then the year 1341, Shire reckoning, on a quest of great treasure. The dwarf hordes of the kings under the mountains beneath Erebor and Dale, far off in the east. The quest was successful, and dragon that guarded the horde was destroyed. Smaug, right? Smaug the dragon. Yet though before all that was won, the battle of the five armies was fought. That's where you get the idea of what? Of the third movie, obviously, the Battle of the Five Armies. And Thorin was slain. Thorin was slain, and many deeds of renown were done. The matter would scarcely have considered latter history or earned more than a note in the long annals of the Third Age. But for an accident, by the way, the party was assailed by orcs in the high passes of the Misty Mountains as they went towards Wonderland, and so it happened that Bilbo was lost for a while in the black orc mines deep under the mountains, and there, as he groped in the vein in the dark, he put his hands on the ring lying on the floor of a tunnel. He put it in his pocket. It seemed then like mere luck, trying to find his way out. Bilbo went on down through the mountains until he could go no further. At the bottom of the tunnel lay a cold lake far from the light, and on the island of rock on the water lived Gollum. Obviously, he was a loathsome little creature. He paddled a small boat with his large flat feet, peering with pale in his eyes and catching blind fish. Remember in the movies how Gollum eats fish? He has those big eyes, those big eyes. That's where they get the idea of the image of Gollum, obviously. Long fingers and eating them raw. Gollum eats raw meat, raw fish, obviously. He ate any living thing, even orc, if he could catch it and strangle it without struggle. He possessed the secret treasures that had come to him long ages ago, the ring, obviously. So the secret treasures that Gollum possesses is the ring, obviously. When he still lived in the light. So before he was evil, he what? Sorry. Oh, I'm mistaken there. He possessed the secret treasures that had come to long ages ago, which is the ring, obviously. I believe it's the ring. When he still lived in the light, a ring of gold that made its wearer visible. It was the one thing he loved, his precious, the ring. And he talked to it, even when it was not with him, for he kept it hidden in a hole on his island, except he was hunting for spying on the orcs of the mines. Maybe he would have attacked Bilbo at once if the ring had been on him when they met, but it was not, and the hobbit held in his hand an elvish knife, Sting, obviously. Sting, his sword. Sting is a sword that glows blue when goblins and orcs are shown. Remember that sword that Frodo had? Fellowship Ring. That's the sword that Bilbo had on his when he was on his journey, and he finds the ring obviously, and he meets Gollum. He sees Gollum obviously. Maybe he would have attacked Bilbo once if the ring had been on him when they met, but it was not. And the Hobbit held in his hand an elvish knife, which served him as a sword. So to gain time, Gollum challenged Bilbo to the real game. Again, remember in what? In Unexpected Journey when Bilbo and Gollum played that real game? Well, that's where Peter Jackson got the idea for the movies, obviously. And you also have the book too, the book of the book. You have the information in the book as well as the appendixes too, obviously. Right. So to gain time, Gollum challenged Bilbo to the real game, saying that if he asked a riddle which Bilbo could not guess, then he would kill him and eat him. But if Bilbo defeated him, then he would do as Bilbo wished. He would lead him to way out of the tunnels. Since he was lost in the dark without hope, and neither go on or back, Bilbo accepted the challenge, and they asked one another many riddles. In the end, Bilbo won the game, more by luck, as it seemed, than by wits, for he was stumped at a riddle to ask, and cried out as his hand came upon the ring he had picked up and forgotten. Why have I got in my pocket? This Gollum failed to answer, though he demanded 3 guesses. The authorities, is true, differ whether this last question was a mere hobbit and not a riddle, according to the strict rules of the game. All agree that after accepting it and trying to guess the answer, Gollum was bound by his promise, and Bilbo pressed him to keep his word. But the thought came to him that this slimy creature might prove false, even though such promises were held sacred, as the old but the wickedest things feared to break them. I'll read a bit here and I'll end it here. After ages alone in the dark, Gollum's heart was black and treacherous with it. He slipped away and returned to his island, of which Bilbo knew nothing. Not far from the dark water, there he thought lay his ring. He was hungry now and angry, and once his passion was with him, he would not fear any weapon at all. And I will stop the prologue here. And then tomorrow I will continue it. I only have 4 pages left. And I don't know if instead of doing a series, I'll just read the prologue and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy my read along for the prologue, obviously. I mentioned a few things while I read the prologue, obviously. I told you the prologue is very boring and it's a drag to read through, but I thought it would be cool for me to read along. So for those of you who haven't read Lord of the Rings, I thought it would be cool for me to read the prologue. That way you guys get an idea of the world that J.R.R. Tolkien created, obviously. A very complex world, obviously, as you need to read the book like 2-3 times to really understand it. It's a pretty detailed, complex book. But I thought it'd be cool to make this video, obviously. Stay tuned for my phase 6 announcement, which will be the end of this month. I finished my formatting. And also stay tuned for my next video tomorrow while I'll finish off the prologue. I might babble on and talk about other things in this book, other things in that video. Obviously, I'm gonna keep saying this. So I'll babble on for a couple more minutes. For my book, Last Hope for Zanus, I'm gonna be selling it as one book. So it'll be one book like this. So see how this is one book? It'll be one book like this. It'll be one book like this. And the 3 volumes, it will be composed of 3 volumes. The 3 volumes will be in this one book. I'll sell it for a good 100, 150 bucks. So instead of you paying $190 for 3 separate books, you're paying 110, 150 bucks for one big book, and the big book will contain the 3 volumes in that one book. Just like Lord of the Rings has books within each book, within each book, obviously. My book will have 3 volumes will be contained in that one book, and I'll sell it for a good 100 to 150 bucks, $110 to $115 max. So I'll sell it for $100 bucks. $100 bucks is good enough. I'll sell it for $100 bucks for my big books because you're looking at like a 600-page novel. It was like top notch, man. And my ebooks, I'll sell it. My ebooks will be 1 story 2 sold in 3 volumes. I'll sell that for $22 bucks. Because I want to make a nice product. Because I know most people are going to buy the ebooks. I want to make a very nice product for myself. Hence why I'm pricing it at $22 bucks. I'm not going to price it at like $5 bucks. No, I want to make a nice product for myself. Hence why I'm pricing it at $22 bucks. Well, this is it, world. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You better not take it for granted. My series is soon coming to an end. Stay tuned tomorrow for my continuation of what my read along of the prologue of Fellowship of the Ring. Also, stay tuned for my Phase 6 announcement. This is Ivan Amir signing out. Peace.